I see that a lot of people have already joined. Thank you very much for joining this webinar today. So this is a few notes before we get started with Debbie. So this is a collaboration event between the .NET user group Bern and also the Agile Breakfast group, and of course the .NET user group Zentralschweiz. One really important thing, I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but one really important thing is that this event wouldn't be possible without sponsoring. So we originally planned to make this, of course, a regular on-site event, but you probably know why we couldn't. And so, but still, we organized everything like it would be a physical event on site, and we wanted to invite Debbie. And of course, that is only possible with sponsoring. And we had to cancel a few things, but there are still costs that are occurring, even though we had to cancel the on-site event. But our awesome sponsors keep true to us, and that is a really great thing, even in times of crisis. So what we have is we have BB Software Services, Mattis and Scheitlin, BBT Software, and Swiss ICT, and also Fro, a limited liable company. So they're helping us to sponsor this event. And of course, we also have Pete from the Agile Breakfast Group. And if you're interested to listen to what they're usually doing, to see their webinars, if they're planning more webinars, or also just if the on-site events start again, feel free to follow the Agile Breakfast Group as well. And we will provide the links in the recording once this webinar is done. So one last thing before I hand over to Debbie is Debbie asked me if I could tell you that questions can be raised during the webinar, of course, and there is a Q&A section at the bottom where you can raise your questions. But we will basically answer them at the end of the presentation. Should there be any hiccups from a technical side, like for example, the microphone volume is not clear, please feel free to speak up and we will try to fix it if we can. So Debbie, over to you.
Okay, can everyone hear me and see me? I'm hoping so.
I can.
Excellent. Okay, so I would normally say it is absolutely amazing to be here in Switzerland, but obviously I am not in Switzerland and I'm in my apartment, and it's not so amazing to be in my apartment because I've been stuck in here for 3 weeks. But it's great to be able to share my story with everyone that's connected here today. So I hope you enjoy it. Are you ready? So from zero to hero, bursting through barriers with many years of anguish. Basically, I am telling you that I think I'm a hero, but actually it's only because the word hero, it rhymed with zero. So I just said, yeah, that will do. So first of all, just a little bit about me. Oh, sorry, too fast. There we go. So this is me. I'm head of learning and developer advocate at NuxtJS. I'm a contributor for Webpack, a writer for Ultimate Courses, a teacher at Vue School, and I'm the organizer for MallorcaJS and VueSpain. So if you do want to follow me, LinkedIn, Debbie O'Brien, and Twitter, Debs_O'Brien. And also I am a Cloudinary media developer expert, a Google developer expert, and a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. So this is all kind of like me showing off a little bit, you know, and I don't really want it to put it this way, but I want you to kind of just keep that in mind, because this is basically going to show you how I got to where I am today. And that's why this is important, because it shows what I've achieved. And I'm going to like now take it back and I'm going to show you how I got there. It wasn't easy, believe me, but I'll show you. It all started back in 1996 when the web design was amazing. Yeah, pretty much. I built my first website before we even had the internet in our typical Irish thing. You build you give a university course without the actual internet having been installed. But yeah, this was it. And back then the job prospects were kind of like, you know, they weren't great. So you could have worked for Amazon, right? This was the Amazon site. You could have worked for Nintendo. That was a bit kind of more funkier. Microsoft had some great job prospects. I mean, look at their site. And my favorite was Disney. I mean, that had a lot of color and action to it. So, you know, really after a lot of months, I basically just decided web design was pretty boring. And I decided instead I was going to move to Mallorca and have some fun. So basically in Mallorca, I decided I was going to work in entertainment. And yeah, I got a job on a stage, basically being in entertainment, doing things like grease lightning shows and basically cabaret shows. Now, I have no talent, by the way. I cannot sing or dance, but I can have fun on a stage, and that's pretty much what I did. So I spent many summers doing this. And in the winter, I basically just traveled Australia, for example, went backpacking around the world. I lived in a ski resort in Austria for a couple of years. And I basically had the best time of my life. I mean, life is perfect, right? And then, yeah, then I did something very stupid. I fell in love. I know. And that meant basically, right, I can't live in two countries. You've got to live in one country. So basically, stayed in Mallorca, and I decided, you know, I need to get a proper job. So I went back to study. So obviously time had passed. My web design skills were pretty bad. So basically, studied a little bit of PHP, some HTML, CSS. I mean, they had changed pretty vastly since I had studied it, and Photoshop, of course. And then I basically went knocking on doors and trying to get a job. And I managed to get some pretty crappy jobs. A lot of them wanted me to build flyers and menus. And, you know, I was like, you know, okay, that's great, but I really want to build websites. So I managed to convince them, and I said, you know what? I am going to build you the best website in the world using the best and most modern technology out there. Yes, Flash. Oh, not that kind of Flash. This kind of Flash. Do you remember Flash? Oh my God. Some of you are probably connected today saying, what is she talking about? And those of you who are like me from the old days, Flash was pretty cool. We could do some really cool stuff, like websites like this, and you could have like animations and things turned around, and it was just really, really, really cool. So I built all my sites in Flash, and I did like so many websites, restaurants, bars, etc. And then with all these Flash sites, what happens? Along comes the iPhone, and Steve Jobs says, you know what? Flash is never gonna make it onto the iPhone. So basically every single website I had built was now not even going to be able to be used on an iPhone. So yeah, that wasn't really very good. So I basically had to think, what am I going to do now? And that's when it was like tables everywhere. So this site is still live. I love this site. I built this about 10 years ago, and I'm very, very proud of it because it's so bad. It's all built with tables, but it still works to today. But oh my God, do not try and make this responsive. This would be a nightmare. So yeah, this is what I did. I built like, you know, basic PHP websites, tables everywhere. And actually the code there that you're seeing, this is actually from Fireworks. If any of you remember this program, it was pretty cool. And it basically meant you could create the navigational menu with drop downs without having any JavaScript experience at all, because I didn't have much JavaScript experience. So yeah, I was able to make really cool websites using these platforms and using Fireworks. And then I built like a CMS as well in PHP. Now you're probably thinking I'm saying like I am such a PHP expert, but really I wasn't. But I was able to do some like basic stuff and create a kind of like a CMS so that at least like, you know, I could create something and the client could then like, you know, save some text, and it was like perfect. Until then, you know, clients came along and said, oh, we want to be able to like add Facebook feeds, and we want to be able to add, and I was like, oh my God, how can I do this? So I kind of couldn't do it. So it was time for WordPress. Oh, I know. Yeah, WordPress wasn't really that exciting back then. I mean, WordPress was built like as a blogging platform. It wasn't really meant to have been built for like websites. It just kind of then took over and became that. So I ended up starting building with WordPress, and you know, I built every single possible thing you could build with WordPress. So I went around again, building websites for restaurants, for bars, fishmongers, taekwondo schools, absolutely everything I could do. And I mean, you know, you just paid $50 for like a template and you could just throw a website together. It wasn't really very exciting at all, but I needed money, and you know, it was a way of making money. But then I got my my first real break, my first front end role where I didn't have to work with WordPress and where I got to, you know, build a proper website. It was fantastic. No, I did not dress up in a bikini all day. But what I did do was my job was basically to make beautiful women look even more beautiful. I know, right? Photoshop, completely just photoshopping all day, making women skinnier, taking away their tattoos. And actually, don't tell anyone this, especially don't tell my mother because she doesn't know. But yeah, I basically worked for an online sex shop. So it was great fun. But yeah, what happened? Well, they kind of launched with all this beautiful lingerie and all these beautiful toys. And and they ran out of money. So that was basically me out of a job again. And I was like, right, you know, what am I going to do now? I'm not going back to build WordPress websites. I need to make some money. What do you do when you're living in Mallorca? Simple, right? You become an English teacher. I mean, I can speak English. So I took my TEFL course and decided this was my new future. I could make money out of this, and I could, you know, I could try and just like, you know, get some classes, and it paid the bills. It was, you know, a way of surviving, and it was okay. But I wanted to work in web design. So I kept, you know, searching for jobs. And then I got to work for Food Hits. Now, Food Hits this was amazing. I created this website. This is cool. This is beautiful. And we basically, we're going to create the best restaurant guide in the world. I mean, yeah, aim big, got to aim big. And we needed to get all the content from every single restaurant in every single city. So we started with a few cities. And me, the only person employed, basically was getting all the content from Facebook and from their websites and trying to put this website together. And I'm really proud of it because it was really, really, really good. It was just a kind of a slow process. But we launched in Dublin. This is me alongside my cousins because we hired them because, you know, we couldn't pay anyone. So we hired them. And my boss is hiding in the back. You can see him there. And then this is just a chicken that popped up for the day. But we basically launched the site at this big festival in Dublin. People came along, they used the website, and they said, wow, this is what we really need. You could search for gluten-free restaurants. You could search for so much. It was really cool. And a week later, they ran out of money. And I was like, what? Seriously, we just launched in Dublin. We just spent so much money. And, you know, we worked so hard. And I was like, you can't, there's no way. And my boss said, he said, well, you know what, you can continue working on it if you like, but I can't pay you. So I was like, back to being an English teacher. Now, this is me dressed as a chicken, and it's not like I'm being a chicken. But yeah, I went back to teaching English, and I worked in a really fun school, teaching English through drama and through science and kind of fun things. And you know, that was basically just my way of getting back to normality and trying to make money again. And yeah, it was fun, but again, it's not what I wanted to do. It wasn't my passion. So when another opportunity came up, obviously I took it. And this was Propio. Now, this was fantastic. This was like a Airbnb for the property market. So we were basically going to have an Airbnb for selling and renting property all around the world so that you wouldn't need estate agents, and you could basically just, you know, sell and rent properties. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. We had a great team, about 13 people, and it was really going places. Then they got investment in, and everything was going fantastic. And then they ran out of money. Yeah, so we actually worked for 3 months for free because we so believed, really thought that, you know, it was just going to work and we were going to, I don't know, we were going to make it. And after 3 months of not earning any money, we basically just packed it in and said, well, you know what, back to being an English teacher it was. So yeah, I spent a couple of months being an English teacher again. And it was like, oh, come on, what am I going to do? I need to sort this out. And, you know, I went for a few job interviews, try and get back into web design. And they were looking for like React, Vue, Angular, Webpack, Jest, Cypress. And I'm kind of looking at that going, yeah, I don't think I can do that. Yeah. So I kind of went back to studying a little bit, and I had studied with O'Reilly School of Technology. If any of you remember that, it's now closed. So don't go try and looking for it. But, you know, it was really, really hard. I was learning JavaScript, and you had to send an email, and then you'd like say, you know, my code's not working, and you'd get an email back saying, oh, you're missing a semicolon, and then you'd like fix it, and 2 days later it was just as ridiculous because, you know, the system wasn't ready for it. So learning online was really, really hard. And I basically kind of went, no, I'm not very good at this, and I probably just, you know, no, I can't do it. And like Chris Coyer gave a great talk recently about what the new front end is. And like, I mean, just look at all those stuff that you've got to do, putting off the design, thinking systematically, making sure everything is accessible, worrying about performance, testing across browsers, testing things across devices, really sweating the UX. And, you know, I just looked at all that and went, I'm not good enough to do that. I'm not good enough to be the front end developer of today. Maybe like, you know, 10 years ago, but not of what they're asking for today. So I went back to being an English teacher. I gave up on everything to do with web design and said, this is it. This is now my future career. And you know what? I kind of said, well, a career is not important, right? Because there comes a stage where you say, you can only work so much in your career. And then you go, well, you know what? Maybe it's time to just, you know, step back, start a family. And that's what I did. I said, it doesn't matter what job I have. I'm earning money and I can, you know, I can survive. So I basically decided that's it, time to start a family. And basically, yeah, that didn't go too well either. Unfortunately, I spent 8 hospital treatments that basically didn't work out. And after having so many failed treatments, well, it was just kind of hard because it was like, you know, you're constantly climbing a ladder. You know, you think like, you know, doctors were saying, this is it, this is going to work. We're going to make it this time. And then you just like, you crash back down and you crash back down to the bottom, and you kind of build up your hopes again. And you kind of think, you know what, I can do this. I can, you know, climb back up again. I can, and you know, you build it up, and then basically everything is just taken down off for you again. And you fall back down again, and you go, okay, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to climb back up again. And you know, until one day you basically just give up. You basically just say, I cannot put that ladder up there anymore. I can't climb anymore. You kind of like, you don't exist anymore. You kind of like, you know, and what had happened was I had just got myself into a very deep, dark hole. I basically just decided I was a failure, and I didn't know what to do next or how to cope, because basically failure is lack of success. And I mean, I tried to get a good career, I tried to have a family. I failed at both of those. And the road sign is this way. The success is one way, failure is another. And I was going down that road of failure. And I basically, like, I didn't even see the good things I had. You know, I live in Mallorca, on a beautiful island. I have a beautiful husband, everything. I have a lovely apartment, but all I could see was what I didn't have. All I could see was failure. And I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of like very, 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 very stuck. I was like, you know, I'd given up on everything really. And there's no, you know, what do you do next? There's no guidebook for it. There's nothing, no one's going to be able to help you. And that's kind of when you need a guardian angel. So this is my friend Sylvia, and Sylvia was doing a Dream Builder course. And she says to me, Debbie, I'm doing this Dream Builder course, and I need someone to take part in the course. I want you to be my first person. And, you know, I won't charge any money for it. So, because I'm just testing out, you know. And I was kind of going, well, this is a load of crap, Dream Builder course. But like, I kind of needed to hang out with people, and she's a good friend. So I was like, you know, okay. And it was free. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. So she said to me, Debbie, what is your dream? And I was like, well, this is a load of crap. Doctors can't make my dream come true. And now you're going to go and make it come true? Come on. And she was like slapping the face. She's Irish as well. And she's like, Debbie, what is your dream if time or money were not in the way? Now think about that for a second. Think about it. What is your dream if money were not in the way? And, you know, I kind of did think about it. And I basically went, okay, so my dream is to be a front-end programmer in a really cool tech company, working with a really good team so I can continue to learn and grow. And does that make you feel alive? Yes, because I love programming. So this is my dream. My dream was to work for Google. I said, but you know what? I live on a very small island. We have no Google. I am not a good programmer. So yeah, great course. But I was asked to define Google. I was like, okay, So Google is this great company, right? It's constantly evolving. You're constantly building new things. You work with a great team of people. You're inspired by each other, and you're continuously growing and learning new stuff. Great, I was told. Now go and find that company in Mallorca. Everything you dream of exists, so find that company here in Mallorca. So I was like, okay, I'm going to prove her wrong, and I'm going to, show her that Google does not exist. But I managed to find Trivago. I don't know if you know Trivago. They're a German company, but they have head offices here in Mallorca. And they're really, really, really cool. Now, this photo is actually of their Dusseldorf offices, but their Palma offices are actually really cool too. And, they've got a great teamwork. They're building new things. And, on their website, it was like fanatic learning. They, love people who are learning a lot. And life at Trivago, they're a people-focused company. They want to empower people to get the most out of life. So I was like, okay, I've found my Google. So what do I do now? And she said, okay, don't worry. And it just came about that a guy in the church we were going to, he worked in Trivago, and he said, we're looking for front-end developers, and I can get your CV onto the desk of the right person. So I was like, cool. So I was asked to fill this out, and this was it, the 21st of March, 2017. Hi, I'm Debbie O'Brien. I love what I do. I could spend 10 hours working on CSS or SAS, and it would feel like 10 minutes. I love coding and seeing results. I like fixing problems and love challenges. I love learning new things. I want to be the best I possibly can at what I do, and to do what I need to do, work with the best so I can continuously improve and grow and learn. I want to be part of a team, a good team, and I want to write code day in, day out, but not weekends. Can't believe I put that, and get paid for it. That's my dream. So I sent that in to Trivago on the 21st of March, 2017. And they asked me to build a booking engine in React as a challenge. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't even know JavaScript. So how on earth am I meant to build a booking engine in React? I went back to my dream builder and I said, like, okay, this is great, but now, what am I going to do now? And she said, this is fantastic. I said, no, it's not. I said, what do I do? And she said, well, what do you need to build that booking engine? And I said, well, I need JavaScript. And she said, great. And I'm like, huh? And she says, you got to go learn JavaScript. I said, I can't learn JavaScript. I already failed. I've tried. I spent 6,000 euros in the past trying to learn JavaScript, and I cannot do it. And she said, well, what do you need to learn JavaScript? I said, I need a teacher. And she said, great, go and find yourself a teacher. I wanted to kill her right now. I was like, oh, I'm going to prove her wrong that this is not possible and that I cannot do this challenge. So I did. What do you do when you need to find the answer to something? You use Google, right? So I'm using Google to try and find my Google job. How to learn JavaScript online teacher. And I came across Open Classrooms. I don't know if you know Open Classrooms, but they're a French company, and they actually give you a mentoring session. So you get a 1 hour a week mentoring session, video chat with a mentor. And I was like, okay, this could work. So basically, I rang them up and I said, okay, this is my situation. I don't need to learn HTML and CSS. I know that. I want to jump straight in to JavaScript and learn JavaScript and React. Can I do that? And they were like, well, you're paying, so, you can do whatever you want. And I explained them I needed to build this booking engine for Trivago, and can they help me? And they were like, sure. So yeah, I basically started to be a student, and I said, goodbye, teacher. Hello, student. I gave up my job. I basically said, that's it. I am going to give this 100%. I'm going to give it everything I can. I told my husband, I'm leaving my job and I'm going to use all the money we have in the bank to pay for these courses and just study full time. And he wanted to kill me. He's like, Debbie, seriously, like, you're not thinking straight. And I'm like, I actually just need to do this. I don't know. I felt like I had something bringing me towards this path. And I just needed to give it my all. And if it fails, then at least I know I've tried and I've done everything I possibly can. So yeah, I basically spent 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I do not recommend you do this, but seriously, this is what I did. And I even studied, like, when I went to the gym, because my husband's like, Debbie, you need to get out of the house. So I would go to the gym and I would like run for an hour, and I would do the courses while I was running on the gym. And I would do the treehouse ones as well. And it was quite easy to actually, run for an hour and do the courses at the same time. And then even like, when you're doing the like the weights and stuff, and you're like, you know, you're doing your arm movements, and then you like have to wait for a minute. Then I'd get my mobile phone out and I'd start reading. I was seriously obsessed, but I just really just wanted to make sure it worked. So yeah, after 6 weeks, I built my booking engine. I mean, look at it, it's amazing, right? Yeah, I know it looks shit, but it actually worked. I mean, you could go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and you know, it all worked. The buttons clicked. I was kind of really pretty impressed with it. But obviously, I know it's not, you know, amazing. So I sent them an email and I kind of said, like, you know, this is what happened. I didn't know JavaScript before. I'm after doing all these courses. I'm after getting a mentor, and I'm after building this. Now, if I had more time, this is what I'd do. So I sent that in to them and I got an email back. Good morning, Debbie. Again, thanks a lot for your effort. I can see how much you're willing to learn and grow. I can see potential. I was like, yes. So they gave me another challenge. I had to build a Chrome extension, a README, and some dynamic content. So I was like, okay. And I did that. And after 2 weeks, handed that in. And they basically said, good morning, Debbie. By the way, I should say you're one of the most motivated candidates I've ever seen. Okay, look at the date, 24th of May, 2017. So I was like, wow, Trivago have said I'm the most motivated candidate they've ever seen. You know, I was pretty much, yeah, I was going to get this job. I was convinced. But they gave me another challenge. And I was like, oh, another challenge. So now this is like 6 weeks plus 2 weeks, 7, 8 plus another 2 weeks, like 9 weeks basically of challenges. They asked me to do a WordPress challenge just in case that was a better fit than the front-end job. And I was like, oh my God, like I cannot do another WordPress website again. I'm trying to, you know, get away from all that. And I basically, you know, sent an email to them saying, here is the WordPress challenge. And I did a great job, but that's not really what I want to do. And I really want the front end position. And I basically sent that email in, and a couple of days later, 12th of June, 2017, in come the results. Dear Debbie, unfortunately, you have not made it to the next step. Please understand that we cannot give you any detailed feedback on your case study's result. It did not work out this time. We wish you all the best for your future job search. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. That was pretty harsh. It was like basically usual copy-pasted feedback, HR department, you know, all the nice emails were gone, and I just cried. I was basically completely devastated, and I just saw that I had failed again. I was like, oh my God. Now, I do want to point out that I don't blame Trivago at any point for this, because, you know, I really wasn't good enough at that moment. And if they had taken me on, they would have had to spend so much time. So there's absolutely no hard feelings with Trivago. And we actually get on great to this day. But at that time, it was really devastating. I would have worked for free. If they had just hired me and said, we're not going to pay you for 6 months, I would have just taken it. I was so desperate. And maybe they could even see that. So yeah, there I was, completely in tears, broken down. And I just like, you know, what do I do now? And I think the hardest part was actually probably telling my family and friends, because everyone had been rooting for me. And now I had to go back to them and say, hey, I failed again. I think that was like the hardest thing. And then Open Classrooms contacted me and they said, Debbie, we would like your testimonial. And I was like, thanks. So I've just failed. I've just spent like 9 weeks creating a booking engine for Trivago to try and get a job. And I just failed, and you want my testimonial? Great, thanks. And they said, no. They said, you didn't get that job, and you're continuing to study, and you're still moving forward, and you're still trying to get your dream job. That's the testimonial we want. And I kind of went, okay, well, you know, that's true. So I was kind of thinking, you know, what do you want? A couple of lines. What do you want me to do? Write it, whatever. And they said, oh no, we'd like to fly you to Paris for the weekend to make a video of you. And I was like, free trip to Paris? I'm definitely up for that. So this is me. This is them. And basically, yeah, we made this video, and it's just completely me telling about how I was studying and how I was using Open Classrooms, and it was kind of like it was really weird, because they got this Airbnb apartment, and in the kitchen was this And it was like incredible. Life is short, focus on what matters and let go of what doesn't. And look at the bottom, make it happen. So I don't know, I just had this kind of like vibe of like, okay, yes, you know, I can do this. And so they made the video, and I was building a JavaScript game at the time. I was really, really struggling. And, you know, I found it hard to learn. And basically, it's how to overcome the biggest obstacle when you're learning to program. And I think I kind of made this video to really tell myself that I can do it. It's if you watch this video, it's about like, you know, you can do it, you can do it. And I've listened to my own words so many times. And there was no acting in this. It was just me, just talking. The only thing that's not real is it's actually in Paris and not in my apartment. Everything else is real. And at that time, they said, like, you know, when you get this job, this dream job, we're going to come to Mallorca and we're going to make Debbie Part 2. And I was like, yeah, right, you know, that's never going to happen. I kind of still didn't believe it. So I continued going for interviews, and I had my worst interview ever. Basically 3 people, a laptop, a big screen with them watching me as I was programming. 3 people watching me live program. Oh my God, I couldn't do it. I couldn't even use the mouse. I had to go and get me another mouse. I just froze up. I couldn't do anything. So they asked me to go to the whiteboard and said, can you just, like, you know, write out some code on a whiteboard? Now, remember, I've been a teacher for like 10 years, right? I have no problem getting up to a whiteboard or getting on a stage, but I actually just sat there and I said, no. And they kind of looked at me as if to say, like, you know, oh my God, what are we going to do now? But I was like, ground, just swallow me up, just swallow me up and take me out of this room right now. It was horrible. I ended up doing something on a white piece of paper, and, you know, they asked me to explain promises, and I was like, I'm learning that next week. That's in next week's course. I haven't learned that yet. And I was just like, oh my God, obviously I didn't get the job, but I left that job and I said, you know what? I am never, ever, ever going to be in that situation again, where I'm given someone else's code and I freak out. So in Treehouse, where I was also studying a FullStack tech degree, they have a peer review program where you actually get to dive into other people's code. And I made a decision that I was going to do one peer review every single day. First thing I did every single morning, one peer review. So I was constantly looking into different people's code bases. And I ended up being like, I got my 100 tech degree peer review badge. And there's actually no more badges after that. So I had reached like the most, and I was the person with the most tech degree reviews in the whole of the course. So that was basically, I don't know, my way of like trying to get confidence and make sure that it never happened again. And then I got my first real job. I went in for an interview in Loggy Travel, which is a massive travel agency in Mallorca. And I was like, you know, I'm ready for all these questions and promises, you know, hit me with it. And they basically didn't ask me any questions. And I was kind of going, seriously? Like, and they basically said, because they'd given me a challenge, I did the challenge in like 2 days, used Node and Pug and HTML, CSS, put it on GitHub, send them a link. And they were like, we were so impressed with your code and how it was written. And I guess I'd had like about 9 months of having a mentor checking my code every single week. So I'd had like quite a lot of people looking in my code and making sure things were good. It was a great way of learning. So yeah, maybe my code was pretty good. So I got my job in Loggy Travel, and I was there just about 2 weeks when I got moved into Blue Kiri, which was got moved into the architectural department because I was constantly like, you know, building tools and stuff. And while I was there in Blue Kiri, Open Classrooms called me and they said, hey, so we're coming to make Debbie Part 2. And I was like, oh my God, seriously? Imagine starting a new job and having a camera crew follow you around, basically so that you could tell a story of your life and how you didn't know JavaScript at the start of the year and now you did. It was kind of like pretty scary, and it was horrible, but it was, it had to be done. We made the video, and I'm really proud we did, because it's actually it's a really, really nice video. Again, it's everything, no rehearsal, no nothing. And the funny thing is, the guy there in that video, he's actually one of the people that interviewed me on the really horrible interview. And he tells the story of how when I went for that interview, from my code of today to my code of like back then. So yeah, I'm really glad that we did make that video, but I was mortified. And basically, I called my boss one day and I kind of said to him, I said, look, if you're going to sack me, can you please just tell me first, just give me a heads up so I can fix it. And he was like, what are you on about? Why would you say that? We think you're amazing. And I was like, basically, I had massive imposter syndrome. I went to work every day. I really loved my job. I loved the people I was working with. And I was afraid every single day I was going to be sacked. I felt I was not good enough. I'd just come out of doing 2 online tech degrees. I mean, there was no way I was better than anyone else. And I just kind of thought, yeah, I'm just, I know this, that little kind of yellow circle, that's me, that's what I know. And that big circle is what everyone else knows. Really the reality is kind of like it's a bit more balanced. But I was struggling so much, and my boss was amazing. He sent me like these videos and blog posts about other people who had suffered from imposter syndrome as well. And that kind of just really helped me to kind of see, I had some support, someone else believed in me. But it's really hard. And, Treehouse called me, for example, and they basically said that they wanted me to work with them as one of their Slack moderators. And I was like, oh my God, I basically came off the call and I said to my husband, I said, there's a real shortage of jobs in America. But I didn't think it was that bad. They can't find anyone else in the whole of America and they've called me. And my husband was like, Debbie, maybe you're actually just good. And I was like, no. They just can't find anyone. There's a real shortage. And I actually seriously believe that. I mean, it's crazy when I think back, but I actually seriously believe that, they couldn't find anyone else. And the same happened with Vue School. Vue School contacted me as well. They wanted me to be a teacher. And I was like, no way, I am not good enough. There is no way I am making video courses and so that the world can learn from my skills. My skills are not good enough. But, sometimes you got to go, what, if I say no right now, I'm going to close the door and it'll never be opened again. So I kind of like went in there and said, okay, yeah, I can do it. And then thought, what, if the course is really that bad, they're just not going to publish it and it'll be all okay. And, they'll figure out sooner or later that I'm not very good and then nothing will ever be published. And that's just kind of how I thought. I also wanted to be a speaker and, I really do love the stage. I mean, you've seen, I've always been on the stage teaching, so I've no problem in speaking in front of people. But I said, I cannot speak in front of a room of developers. Like, there's no way can I get up on a stage and speak at a conference about tech because I'm not good enough in tech. There's no way. And Denise here, Banish Your Inner Critic. This is an amazing book. And she had a really good talk on about how to banish those thoughts that you have, that how you're thinking about you're not good enough, how to get rid of imposter syndrome. And that really helped me. And she was like, Debbie, you just got to just go for it. Just do it. And Dennis, another good friend of mine who's had a great talk that day, and he basically said, go out there and tell stories. You're not teaching, you're not getting up on that stage to teach people, you're telling stories. And if people don't tell stories, we don't learn new things. So I did. I basically became a speaker. I sent my first talk through, and when I got accepted, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done now? Now I have to get up on a stage and give that talk. It was very scary. It was so scary, but it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I had so much great support from the other speakers who all just told me, remember, everyone just wants you to do well. Just remember that you're up on that stage and everyone wants you to do well. And I'll always have that in the back of my head, and I did this talk and, I got up there. This is me and 2 very good friends of mine, Jeff and Hannah's, and we both were giving our talk the first day. And I said, one day I'm going to make it to the big stage. I'm going to be on that big, massive stage. And that was kind of like my dream, to get on one of the big stages. And, I managed to achieve that as well. But imposter syndrome came back. And, January came about, January the 5th, 2019. And I sent a message to my friend Jeff and I went, hey, I'm looking for ideas to submit a conference talk. And I'm kind of also scared. I don't know enough. But then I watched some conferences and I think, oh, I know all that. And Jeff says to me, haven't we been through this already? You kicked ass in Vilnius in Lithuania. And I was like, oh yes, maybe we have. Thank you. And sometimes you just need that, right? Sometimes you just kind of like, you're in that moment of, I can't do it. And you just need that person to just push you that little bit step forward. you know. And my husband always gave out to me. He was always like, I'm always telling you you're great. And I love my husband, he's great. But I needed someone who knew what I was going through, who'd been through that, because, you know, as you who can push you further. So I'm really lucky to have amazing people around you. I think that's what's really key, is to have those people around you and reach out to them and say, I can't do it, so they can tell you, yes, you can. The voice never ever goes away. Like, seriously, it's always there. I always fear I'm going to fail. I spent so long failing. Like, the word failure is just kind of drilled in. And I've actually bought a load of signs, which I put in my hallway. I have there's about 9 signs, and they say, like, you know, dreams can come true, and you're amazing. And I read these like before I leave the house as I'm putting on my shoes, and I need that reminder. I did tell my husband, I said, I need you to tell me every single day, Debbie, you're amazing. And he did it for the first couple of days, and then he forgot. And then it was like, I just need someone to keep reminding me so that I can be the person I need to be. So I program my Alexa. If you've got an Alexa out there, I say, Alexa, good morning. She tells me the weather. And then she says, Debbie, you're amazing. And that's how I get through my day. Because otherwise I've got that other voice telling me that I'm not going to be good enough and I'm not going to do things. So I need that other voice coming in, and sometimes I need it from sources that are not in my head, right? Dreams do come true. Seriously, this is something I recommend. Write down your dreams. When I was doing the Dream Builder course, we had to write down our dreams every single day. I still have that book that I wrote all my dreams down in. This is actually a picture of it. This is real, from the 25th of March. I want to have a great job in programming, working for a great company where you constantly grow and learn new things, and where you have to work with a great team of people. Like, you know, this was basically my dream, and I wrote down every single day. There were some other stuff in there. I probably should have wrote down that I wanted to earn like 150,000 euros or something. I didn't write that much, and then I didn't get that much. So seriously, like, write down everything you could want. I even wrote down things like I wanted to have weekends free, so I could spend more time doing, you know, fun things, because I was constantly having 2 jobs. I was always working weekends as well. And I even put that I wanted to travel more, which also came true, even though right now nobody's traveling anywhere. But I have traveled to some amazing places in the last year, and it will happen again, I'm sure of it. But yeah, everything that you write down comes true. So seriously, just write down your dreams every day. Everything is possible. Seriously, this is actually me and my 2 new bosses. This is Sebastian Chopin and Alexander Chopin, who are the creators of NuxtJS. Nuxt is a framework on top of Vue.js. Like, you can't even understand how unbelievable it is, and how proud, and like, I actually don't even believe that that I have this job. I started it literally last week, the 1st of April, and I have been like almost kind of working for free for Nuxt for the last almost maybe 1.5 to 2 years, where I've been constantly advocating for them, writing blog posts, speaking at conferences, and just doing a lot of open source contributions. And I always had like, it would be a dream to work for Nuxt. I would love that, but it was open source. It was never possible. And then they got funding, literally in February. They got funding and they came to me. There was no job interview, no nothing. They called me up and they said, Debbie, we're putting a team together and we want you to be head of learning and developer advocate. And I was like, oh my God. I still doubt if I can do this job as good as they want me to. I doubt it every single day, but it's my dream job. I'm getting paid to do everything I want to do, which is just incredible. So I want you to know that basically, everyone out there, you are all awesome. Seriously, everyone, you are awesome. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You really can. You have to work hard for it. I mean, that goes without saying, right? And nobody said it would be easy. I mean, it took me like quite a long time to get to where I am today. So it is possible. And just believe me when I tell you, you are awesome. And, you know, a good friend of mine said, know that you are good enough, because you are good enough. Don't let that voice in the head say you're not good enough, because you are. Every single one of us is good enough. So just take those voices away, get rid of them. When you're given a door, the first thing you do when you open that door is you look through it and you say, oh my God, that's exactly what I want, but it's kind of like so scary, and you just close the door, right? And you basically say, there's no way I'm walking through that door, because oh my God, I can't do it. And I've been doing that for quite a long time, saying, no, can't do that. But what if you walk through that door and on the other side is absolutely everything that you possibly wanted? I mean, what if I had said no to Nux because I'm too scared, and I said, no, I'm not going to take that job? I mean, that would have been ridiculous, right? So walk through every single door, every single opportunity you get, walk through it. If it's scary and if you're afraid, then it's probably the one you want to walk through. Walk away from fear. Walk with fear. Walk with fear and walk through those doors. Take those opportunities. And as my good friend Jeff says, hey, you can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Debbie. That was really inspiring, and of course I'm going to repeat it because some people wrote it into the channel. Quite a few people said you're amazing, Debbie. So
oh, thank you.
You don't need Alexa.
I do need Alexa, seriously.
Just come to us and we confirm it. I'm going to ask if people have any questions, and feel free to ask any questions into the chat window or into the Q&A section if you have any. In the meantime, I'll take the liberty to ask one of my questions. So Debbie, one of the things that we try to do in our user group is we have this 15-minute short presentation time window where we try to give the people in the community the opportunity to do a 15-minute short presentation to basically tip their toes into presentations, to talk about something they do in their work or in their free time, to tease it to a group of people that I would consider a friendly audience, so to speak. Because I firmly believe, and also together with Force, we firmly believe that this is a great way if someone wants to basically go into public speaking, international conferences. This is a great way to get started and to boost your career. Well, first of all, do you think that's a great mechanism to, for example, bootstrap opportunities like that? And the second question would be, do you have, if you think it's a great way, do you have any advices for people how they can join this opportunity?
So yeah, to start speaking, nowadays it's kind of hard because we've got no in-house opportunities, like we're not in offices anymore. But I would start in the company itself is a very good in your company, although sometimes in the company can be the hardest one. It depends on the relationship you have with the people you work with, right? Because if they all don't understand the topic you're working on, maybe they might find it not interesting. So I always kind of find it better to get like a group of people that you all share the same passion about. So if you're going to talk about, for example, Vue, find people who really like Vue because they'll give you a better like feedback. It's like if I gave the talk to my family, they'd just go, yeah, I don't know what that was about. So it's kind of good to start with some like in-house in work opportunities, and meetups. The local meetups are the best way possible because everyone's going there to listen to that talk, and nobody cares that you've never given a talk before. You can even say, this is my first talk, and people are so friendly, and like nobody wants to see you fail. So nobody will come to a meetup and say, ha ha ha, you didn't do good. Like nobody would ever do that. So just go out and do it, because if you don't, you'll never know, right?
Yeah, thanks for that. So we have one question from Sebastian. He asked, Debbie, I saw you're in Microsoft MVP. How did this come? Did it come along, or did you aim for it?
Yeah, so I still write down my dreams. I don't do it every day because I forget. Probably need to program Alexa saying, Debbie, write down your dreams, right? But I have like when I start off the year, I say, these are my goals for the year. This is what I want to achieve. And working for Microsoft is one of them, like say for like a 3-year, plan. It's not something that I have in a short-term plan. But I wanted to be a Microsoft MVP. I wanted to be a Google Developer Expert, and I got both of them. Literally, like January was Microsoft MVP, and Google Developer Expert was in December. How did it happen? It just happened. It was like somebody nominated me, so I didn't like fill out a form or anything. People nominated me, and because of the community work I'm doing, and then I basically had the interviews, and then I ended up getting both of them within a month of each other, which was just really incredible.
Okay, so I have one other question. From Patrick. I'm not sure I fully understand it, but I'm gonna read it out loud. What's about Google? Is there some contact? That was his question. I'm not sure what his question was actually.
So, like, did I ever get a job in Google, you mean?
Um,
Um,
so
I'll kind of answer a little bit and see if I'm answering correctly. But like, so Google was always my dream from very young, like when I first started. Do I have direct contact from Google? So I never reached out to Google to tell them my dream. Maybe I should send them the video so they can see it. Um, will I ever work for Google? Who knows? To be honest, Google normally employ people not remotely, so it was kind of like never really an option because you had to work. And I love my husband. I live here in Mallorca, so I'm never gonna leave Mallorca because he has a good job that's stable here. So the Google developer expert comes about from somebody nominating you from the community work you're doing, and it has nothing to do with working for Google. It's not a employee thing at all. It's basically a recognition for the work that you've been doing for the community. So will Google hire me in the future? I have absolutely no idea, but right now I don't care because I absolutely just love the job I have that I just started last week. It's my dream. Maybe in a few years, who knows, maybe I'll work for Google or for Microsoft, or maybe I will always work for Nuxt. I have no idea, but I kind of like don't care because I'm just like so happy with what I have.
we have someone from Google actually in the audience.
Okay, oh my God.
Looking at you, Marta. No. So, so there's another question. What was the tipping point? This is from Peter. What was the? Let's not romanticize it. Marta said. Thanks, Marta. What is the tipping point to stop listening to your limiting voices in your head, or what was the tipping point? Sorry.
That I think that was the time I reached out to my boss and said, please don't sack me. Like at this point, I was going to work every day in fear that I was going to lose my job. I was walking into work thinking, this is the day they're going to fire me. And it's really hard to concentrate to do your job properly because you're just constantly worried about making a mistake, right? And he basically said to me, Debbie, like fail. I want you to fail because when you fail, you're going to learn something. So keep failing and keep learning and keep growing. And he was incredible. And it's incredible the amount of people, like I did a lot of research for this talk on it, and some people like very, very famous artists who have actors who've won like, awards have basically think like, I'm not good enough. They're going to take my award back, my Oscar. They're going to take my Oscar back any day now. And you're kind of like going, what? Seriously? Come on. We are all human and we have this kind of like this way of, I don't know, this voice that just basically, I think we're constantly looking at other people and trying to compare ourselves to other people. And I think that's kind of like what I was doing. I was going into work and I was working with some really amazing programmers. So I was like at the bottom of the stack and working with these amazing people. Like now I'm also at the bottom of the stack, right? I'm working direct with the creators of the framework. They're obviously so much better than me, but it's fine because it's like, I'm going to learn so much from them and they're not expecting me to be them. I need to be me. And I think that's kind of what you need to remind yourself. But yeah, you'll know when it comes to the tip of it because it's like, it's just when it takes over you.
Yeah, so there is another question from Patrick. Is your current dream the same or is there a new one?
That's a really, really good question. My dream changes a lot, but the thing is that it's always been the same and it's never changed at the same time, right? So the only way to look at that is if you look back over your notes. So you could say my back then, my dream was to work for Google. That's what I first came out with. That's what I first wrote down. But when you define what Google is, then you kind of see what your dream is, to work in something that's constantly evolving. So Nuxt, for example, we're creating new content all the time. We're constantly building new things, working with an amazing team. Like these guys are incredible. So basically everything that I wrote down about my dream back then is exactly the same dream I have now. The company can change, the circumstance can change, but like it's still the same. Now the thing is I aim higher. So obviously like last year when I said I want to be a Google developer expert or Microsoft MVP, I mean, I never had that dream 3 years ago because I never even imagined I could do it. Speaking at conferences, I wanted to speak at all the Vue conferences and I managed to achieve that. So every year I kind of like create a big massive, you know, this is what I want to, like I add to my dream, I guess you could say, rather than my dream changes. I keep adding more things to it. And yeah, I mean, I want to do so much more. So I think I will always have dreams and I will always add to it.
There's another question. Would you say that challenging people around you can bring you forward to your dreams, and how do you recognize it that you are at the right place?
Yeah, so if challenging people around you can bring you forward to your dreams. So I think you need who kind of like want the same as you, right? So if you're surrounded or in a company or in a place that don't want to move forward and nobody wants to learn new technologies, for example, then it's going to be very hard to be that person to push forward. This is why I love going to conferences, right? Conferences and meetups, you get to meet people who are all in the same kind of, they want the same things. Everyone's going that bit of extra, right? Because I mean, let's face it, everyone here is sitting there listening to me when you could be watching Netflix, or you could be like playing with children, or you could be doing kind of more interesting things, right? But we all want to be here to learn more and to grow. So being around the people who want more will always help you to get more as well. And how do you recognize that you're at the right place? I don't know. I think when you get up in the morning and you just love going to work, maybe then you kind of know that this is, I think it's happiness. And I spent, when you haven't been happy, when you're like, you know, when you've hit rock bottom and you've seen what happiness is not, then you understand what happiness really is. And I mean, I don't know. I get up in the morning singing, going to work. I mean, it's only from my bedroom to my office, so it's not that far, but but it's really exciting, and I love what I'm doing.
I have one question that kind of comes a little bit from my experience. So one thing that I see myself when I grew in my career was that I surrounded myself with a lot of what I thought were awesome people giving me feedback, but also I was passively consuming a lot of information that was out there, or let's say on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that. What I realized is, for me, because I was constantly in that bubble of things happening, it actually tremendously increased the pressure on myself, and those voices in my head came again and said, "Hey, look at all those other people on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and they're like 100 miles farther than you are." How do you do you have similar feelings from time to time when you are in this bubble of surrounded by people on Twitter, on social media platforms, and how do you manage those feelings so that you know that you're still on a, let's say, positive trajectory and not over pushing yourself beyond your limits and therefore burn out?
Yeah, so I think at one stage I kind of got very kind of worried about everything, because I was getting yeses to all these conferences and people were like saying, "Oh my God, Debbie, you're amazing. I can't wait to see your talk." And then I was like going, "Oh my God," like, you know, and this was like a tech talk on Vue and Nuxt. And I was speaking in front of the creator of Vue, the creator of Nuxt, the creators of all these amazing things who are so much better than me. At the end of the day, I'm not going to like compete with them, right? And I was like, yeah, it was freaking me out because people were saying, "Debbie, you're amazing on social media. We can't wait to see you." And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And it was really scary. But that's when you kind of like reach out to people. And I like to be very honest with people, and I speak straight to them. So I got someone to actually review my talk. So my talk that I was giving on Nuxt, I got one of the Vue core team members to actually watch it live while I was giving the talk and to take down notes and comment. And he was very honest, right? So like little things that you could do better. And that made me feel better, because when you have someone who's better than you, someone you know look up to, then basically saying, "Wow, your talk was amazing, but this is what you did could be improved, and this is what you could have done better." And you kind of walk away with that and go, "Okay, so I did good, but I can improve." So you take that negative away in a better, more positive way. It's really, really hard. I mean, I look at, I have so many more courses, and I'm now building courses. When I'm building the courses for Vue, I don't even know how to do them before I start them. I have to research so much, learn it, create it, build it, record it. And I don't know half the things. And there was a really nice article. I can't remember if it was Dan Abramov who wrote it. And it was all the things I don't know. And he's an amazing developer. He's from Facebook, absolutely amazing. And he wrote down everything he didn't know. And I looked at it and went, oh, I know that. So he doesn't know that, and I know that. I'm better than him. So it depends on what you compare yourself to. And what I started to do was write down the things that I have achieved. And I found this really, really, really helpful, because I haven't achieved this, but this is what I have achieved. So at the start of the year, when I say I want to do all this, I kind of like keep a collection of things that I've done. I've learned this, I've done this, and look back all the time at the things I have done. And that will help you to kind of like not feel like you're not going anywhere, because you are going so far. You just forget it and you concentrate on what you don't know instead of what you actually do know.
Okay, we have another question. Daniel said, I think if there are no challenging people, then it would be best to look for a new job opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you need to be challenged all the time. I think otherwise, especially in tech, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who are quite happy. I'll give you an example of my husband, who I love very much, but he's not the type of person to be challenged. He goes into work, he's been in the same job for 25 years, and he's very happy. And he doesn't want to spend any of his time trying to, you know, learn more or do more. He wants to do his free time spending doing sport or whatever, and that's his choice. So we're not all the same. And I think, like, don't ever pressurize someone to try and be something that they don't want to be, because that's obviously important as well. It takes like all sorts of people to make a great world. And yeah, it's okay if you don't want to be that person who spends your Saturdays programming and studying. And if you do want to be that person, then, you know, just kind of try and hang out with the people who are more like you and who want to do those kind of things. Go to meetups, go to conferences, connect to people on Twitter, just talk, ask questions. You can reach out to me anytime. And yeah, just kind of surround yourself with the people who you want to be, like.
Yeah, great advice. One last question from Marta. I feel like imposter syndrome plus working from home is a dangerous combination, and that it could lead to overtime, wanting to prove ourselves. How do you deal with that? How do you maintain work-life balance?
So right now, so I'm in Spain, so which means we're not even allowed to walk outside the door. We're not allowed to go for a walk, nothing. So basically, it's very hard right now for everyone. The first week was really, really hard, and I was in my old job, so that was even harder, because obviously my new job, I'm happier and better, right? I at first, like, I was reading the news all the time. I mean, we get consumed by the news and even by social media, all the things that are happening. Like, this is it's I don't know how you would even describe what's happening in the world right now, but it's just unreal, right? So when you start consuming yourself with that, it makes it very hard. So after about a week, I started to say, right, I need to figure this out and become normal in a way, right? So I get up every morning and I have a rooftop terrace. So I go running around in circles. It's kind of not ideal, but I'm able to just go around, change direction every 5 minutes so I don't hurt the insoles of my foot. I do kind of some like taekwondo patterns up there, and I try and have that bit of normality. I do that every single day at the same time. So that's my new kind of like, you know, normal. And come down, have breakfast, have a shower, and then I start work. I don't put on the news or Twitter or any social media during my working time. If I'm at work, I'm at work. I have a lunch break, and at lunch break I might ask Alexa what's on the news. She tells me in 2 minutes, and it's enough to kind of just know that everything's still bad. And then when I finish work, I try and connect with people on Zoom calls, and just kind of hang out and just kind of have, like, you know, general conversation with people, because my husband's working, so I'm home alone like most of the day. And then I have like things I want to do. So I've got a to-do list of still things I want to do. There's certain courses I want to take. There's certain things I want to build. And then I try and focus on that when I have free time. And I also kind of know that it's okay, especially right now, if I'm not feeling the mood to program more, if I want to just, you know, do nothing, and that's when I kind of reach out and say, hey, anyone want to chat, and kind of like have just a Zoom call and virtual pub, and try and be normal in a non-normal world, which is kind of hard.
Yeah, I remember the pictures of you wearing your St. Patrick's Day hat, right, and celebrating it on Zoom. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday. Today, what day is today? Today is Tuesday. See, I get lost in the days even. Sunday was actually my birthday, and I would have been in Switzerland celebrating my birthday, as you know, Daniel. And obviously that was really hard. It's like, oh my God, like, you know, it's my birthday. I get no presents, no family, no friends, nothing. So I made myself a cake, and I went up to my roof terrace, and I put music on, and my husband had the day off, which is great. And we put music on, and I danced the whole, like, you know, afternoon, about 4 hours of just putting music on. And I just danced, and I said, I don't care. I put my new dress on, my boots on, I look great. And the neighbors on the other side of, like, from their balconies could see me, and they almost thought I was crazy. And I just said, I don't care. I got a sweeping brush as a karaoke and just like started singing into the brush. And I don't know, I just had fun. It was the best day I had in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and Urs and I, we had to eat all the chocolate we prepared for you, all the Swiss chocolate. We had to eat
Oh,
it all
no,
because
you could have sent it over.
I'm so sorry.
I will be back.
Great. No, I think okay, so that was great fun. Thank you very much for being so open about all the challenges and struggles you had in your life, and of course, I wish you best of luck for the rest of your career, and may your dreams come true.
Thank you very much. And I do want to say, if anyone is out there and you're kind of like thinking, you know, oh my God, I want to do this and I'm afraid or whatever, seriously, like reach out to me by Twitter DM. My DMs are open. Just send a message or LinkedIn message, whatever. And, you know, just reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking this. I have a lot of time right now. So I have absolutely no problem in, you know, maybe just giving you some words of advice or I don't know, links to some blog post or something. But yeah, reach out. If you don't want to reach out to me, reach out to someone else. But definitely do reach out to people and just go for it. Make it happen. I mean, look at the way the world is right now. We need to, like, you know, we need to be happy and we need to be doing things we want to be doing. So just go for it and just try and get the most out of life as you can.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. And I hope to see you all in Switzerland one day in the future.
With kilos of chocolate. Bye-bye.